No room for strugglers. Mom's voice cut through the chatter of the family reunion. Her eyes, cold and dismissive, fixed on my simple dress from Target. Around us, cousins in designer clothes pretended not to stare, but their smirks said everything. My sister Amanda stood beside Mom, wearing a dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent, her perfectly manicured hand covering a laugh. I stood in the doorway of our family's sprawling vacation home, the same place where we'd spent countless summers before everything changed, before they decided I wasn't good enough anymore. The familiar scent of Mom's expensive perfume mixed with the aroma of catered food I knew I wasn't welcome to share. But it's a family reunion, I said quietly, my voice steady despite the humiliation burning in my chest. Dad would have wanted. Dad's not here anymore. Amanda cut in, her voice sharp. And he's not here because he believed in supporting strugglers like you. Look where that got him. The words hit like a physical blow. Dad had died 2 years ago, his small business in ruins because he tried to help me start my own company. At least that's the story they liked to tell. The truth was different, but they'd made sure everyone believed their version. Besides, Mom added, adjusting her pearl necklace, what will the Carmichael family think? Their daughter just made junior partner at Goldman Sachs. And here you are. What? Still working as some sort of consultant. I bit back a laugh. If they only knew. But that was the point, wasn't it? They didn't know. Nobody did. And for now, that's exactly how I needed it to be. Actually, I started, but Amanda's loud sigh cut me off. Oh my God, are you still here? Mom said no strugglers. That means you. Get out before you embarrass us more than you already have. 40 pairs of eyes watched, some amused, some uncomfortable, but none spoke up. These were the people who'd watched me grow up, who'd eaten at our table, who'd celebrated my graduations. Now they were just an audience to my humiliation. Fine, I said, straightening my shoulders. I'll go, but remember this moment. Mom laughed, the sound like breaking glass. Remember what? Another dramatic exit from our family failure? Please, we have better things to do. I turned and walked away, their laughter following me down the perfectly manicured path. My hands shook as I reached for my car keys, but not from sadness. No, I was done being sad about them. This was anger, pure and cold, and it was exactly what I needed. My phone buzzed as I slid into my car, a modest Toyota that made them cringe every time they saw it. A message from my assistant. Ma'am, the Morgan acquisition is complete. The board is waiting for your signature. I smiled, starting the engine. They thought I was a struggler, a consultant barely making ends meet. They had no idea I was about to become their boss's boss's boss. 2 years ago, when Dad's business was failing, I'd already been building my own empire in secret. Not the small startup they thought had failed, but something much bigger. I'd used a different name, worked through holding companies and shell corporations. Not because I was hiding, but because I understood the power of anonymity. While they mocked my consulting job, I was orchestrating corporate takeovers. While they bragged about Amanda's junior partnership, I was buying the firms she dreamed of working for. And now finally, everything was falling into place. My phone buzzed again. Another message, this time from the board. The announcement goes public tomorrow. Congratulations on the successful merger, Chairwoman. I pulled onto the highway, leaving their laughter behind. Tomorrow they'd learn the truth. Tomorrow they'd understand exactly what kind of struggler they kicked out. But first, I had some calls to make. The office was quiet when I arrived, most employees already gone for the day. My real office, not the small consulting firm I used as a cover. The security guard nodded respectfully as I passed. Evening, ma'am. My heels clicked against marble floors as I made my way to the top floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view of the city skyline, lights twinkling like stars. This was my realm, my true world, so different from the facade I showed my family. Sarah, I called out to my assistant, who was still at her desk despite the late hour. Is everything ready for tomorrow? She looked up, efficient as always. Yes, ma'am. The press release is prepared, the board has signed off, and the Morgan acquisition is complete. Also, she paused, a small smile playing at her lips. I've compiled the list you requested. Ah, yes, the list. Every company my family had connections to, every contract they relied on, every financial tie they thought was secure. Mom's interior design firm, which got most of its clients through the very corporation I just acquired. Amanda's law firm, which handled contracts for 3 companies I now controlled. Perfect, I said, taking the folder Sarah handed me. And the other matter? Your father's old business records? Sarah nodded. All retrieved. The evidence is quite illuminating. I opened the folder, scanning the documents inside. Bank statements, transfer records, emails, all proving what I'd known all along. Mom and Amanda hadn't just let Dad's business fail. They'd actively worked to destroy it, siphoning money, sabotaging contracts, all while blaming me. They thought I didn't know. They thought I believed their lies about my failed startup causing Dad's bankruptcy. But I'd known the truth. I just waited, built my power in secret, prepared for the perfect moment to reveal it. Send copies to the board, I instructed. They should understand why tomorrow's changes are necessary. Sarah nodded, but hesitated. Ma'am, if I may, are you sure about this? It's your family. I looked out at the city lights, remembering the laughter, the mockery, the cruel dismissal just hours ago. No, Sarah. They stopped being family the moment they betrayed Dad. Tomorrow they become what they've always been, just another business problem to solve. I spent the next few hours reviewing contracts, signing documents, preparing for the storm I was about to unleash. Around midnight, my phone buzzed again. A text from Amanda. Hope you're not crying too much in your sad little apartment. But hey, maybe next reunion you'll have achieved something worth mentioning. I screenshotted the message, adding it to my growing file. Let them mock. Let them laugh. In less than 12 hours, their world would shatter. Morning came with the sun painting the sky in shades of victory. I dressed carefully, Channel suit, Louboutin heels, jewelry that cost more than Mom's car. No more Target clothes. No more playing the struggling consultant. Today, I would show them exactly who I was. The press release went out at 9 a.m. sharp. Global Innovations completes historic merger with Morgan Industries, announces new chairwoman. My phone exploded immediately. Not with family calls, they wouldn't know yet. No, these were business calls, congratulations from other CEOs, interview requests from financial news networks. I ignored them all. I had a meeting to attend. The Morgan Industries headquarters, now my headquarters, stood like a glass and steel mountain in the heart of the financial district. As my car pulled up, I saw them. Mom and Amanda, entering the building. Mom had a meeting with the CEO about her design contracts. Amanda was there to handle some legal paperwork. Perfect timing. I waited 5 minutes before making my entrance. The security team had been briefed. No one was to announce me. I wanted to savor every moment of what was about to happen. The elevator ride to the 50th floor was silent. My heels clicked against marble as I approached the conference room where I knew they'd be waiting. Through the glass walls, I could see them. Mom in her expensive suit, Amanda with her designer briefcase, both trying to charm the now former CEO. I pushed open the door. Sorry I'm late, I said smoothly. Traffic was terrible. Mom barely glanced my way, probably assuming I was some assistant. Amanda did a double take, her perfectly plucked eyebrows drawing together in confusion. The CEO, James Morgan himself, stood immediately. Madam Chairwoman, he said, his voice carrying clearly across the room. We've been waiting for you. The color drained from Mom's face. Amanda's mouth fell open. In the silence that followed, you could hear a pin drop. Chairwoman? Mom whispered, her voice weak. I smiled, taking my seat at the head of the table. Yes, Mother, Chairwoman. Now, shall we discuss those contracts of yours? I believe there are some changes we need to make. The look on their faces made every moment of humiliation worth it, but this wasn't just about revenge. This was about justice, for Dad, for me, and for every struggler they'd ever looked down on. And I was just getting started. The silence in the conference room was deafening. Mom's hands trembled as she clutched her designer handbag. Amanda's face had gone from shocked white to angry red. James Morgan stood awkwardly, clearly sensing the tension but professional enough not to comment. Mr. Morgan, I said smoothly, thank you for staying through the transition. You can leave us now. I need to have a private conversation with our contractors. He nodded, relief evident on his face as he hurried out. The door clicked shut behind him, leaving me alone with my family. This is impossible, Amanda finally sputtered. You're just a failed consultant. You couldn't even keep Dad's business alive. I opened my laptop, projecting documents onto the wall screen. Bank statements, transfer records, emails, all the evidence I gathered over the years. Interesting perspective, I said, clicking through the slides. Let's talk about Dad's business, shall we? Specifically, these transfers from his corporate account to your personal ones. Or these emails where you deliberately sabotaged his contracts. Or maybe, I paused on a particularly damning document, this letter where you both planned to blame everything on me. Mom's face went from pale to gray. Where did you get those? I have them for years, I replied, my voice ice cold. I knew what you did to Dad. I knew you destroyed his business and blamed me to cover your tracks. I just waited for the right moment to prove it. Amanda jumped to her feet. You're lying. Those documents are fake. Are they? I pressed a button on my desk phone. Sarah, please send in the forensic accountant and our legal team. The door opened and 5 people in suits entered, carrying more files. Amanda's legal bravado crumbled as she recognized one of them, the senior partner from her firm. Mr. Harrison, I addressed the partner. Please explain to my sister the legal implications of what she and my mother did. The next 15 minutes were devastating. The partner methodically laid out every illegal transaction, every fraudulent document, every criminal act they committed while destroying Dad's business. With each revelation, Mom seemed to shrink in her chair, while Amanda's lawyer mask cracked completely. This is blackmail, Mom finally whispered. No, Mother. This is called consequences. I stood smoothing my skirt. You design contracts with Morgan Industries. Cancelled. Every contract you have with any company I now control. Terminated. Amanda's position at her firm? Well, I glanced at the senior partner. I believe that's about to change. You can't do this, Amanda shrieked. We're family. Family? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You kicked me out of a family reunion just yesterday, called me a struggler, mocked me in front of everyone. Remember? That was different, Mom protested weakly. We didn't know. That I was rich? That I had power? That's exactly the point, isn't it? You only care about status and money. Well, now I have both, and you have neither. I pressed another button on my phone. Security, please escort these former contractors out, and make sure they surrender their building passes. As security approached, Mom stood up shakily. Please, he whispered. We can talk about this. We can fix this. Like you fixed Dad's business? I asked quietly. No, Mom, there's nothing to fix. You made your choice years ago. Now you get to live with it. As they were let out, Amanda turned back, her face twisted with rage and fear. You'll regret this. You can't just destroy your own family. Watch me, I said, turning back to my work. But as the door closed behind them, I allowed myself a moment to feel the weight of what I'd just done. It wasn't pleasure I felt, or even satisfaction. It was something closer to peace. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. It was a photo from the family reunion yesterday, showing them all laughing as I walked away. Amanda had captioned it, taking out the trash. I forwarded it to my PR team with a simple instruction. Make sure this circulates after today's news breaks. Let everyone see who they really are. By evening, the story had exploded. Not just my acquisition of Morgan Industries, but the full tale of how my family had destroyed my father's business and blamed me. The photos from yesterday's reunion went viral, the successful family mocking their struggling daughter, not knowing she was about to become one of the most powerful CEOs in the city. Karma, as they say, is a patient businesswoman. The real work was just beginning. I had an empire to run, a company to integrate, and a legacy to build. But as I sat in my office that night, looking out over the city lights, I couldn't help but smile. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just success. It's success they never saw coming. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Sarah. Ma'am, your father's old employees are here. The ones your mother fired after his death. Should I send them in? I took a deep breath. Yes, revenge was sweet, but justice was better. Send them in, I replied. It's time to right some wrongs. After all, I might be a struggler, but I was a struggler who had just changed the game. And we were just getting started. The fallout was swift and merciless. Within days, Mom's interior design firm lost 80% of its clients, not just the ones I controlled. Apparently, wealthy clients don't like working with someone who's been exposed for fraudulent business practices. Amanda was suspended from her law firm pending an investigation. Their carefully crafted social world began crumbling like a sandcastle in the tide. But I wasn't done yet. Ma'am, Sarah entered my office one morning, tablet in hand. The audit of your father's old company is complete. We found something interesting. I looked up from my work. Show me. She placed the tablet in front of me. On the screen was a document I'd never seen before. Dad's original will, dated just weeks before his death. A will very different from the one Mom had presented. Where did you find this? I asked, my hands trembling slightly as I read through it. It was buried in old company files, encrypted. Your father's former 8 manager helped us recover it. Sarah paused. They switched it, didn't they? I nodded, anger burning fresh. The will I'd seen after Dad's death had left everything to Mom, with small portions for Amanda and me. But this original version told a different story. Dad had left the bulk of his estate to me, along with explicit instructions about rebuilding his company. He knew, whispered. He knew what they were doing. The next few hours were a blur of calls with lawyers and investigators. By evening, I had enough evidence to prove will fraud, another criminal charge to add to their growing list. My phone buzzed. A text from Amanda. Mom's in the hospital. Anxiety attack. I hope you're happy, you heartless witch. I stared at the message, remembering all the times they'd used emotional manipulation to control me. Not this time. I typed back. Interesting timing. Right when we discovered Dad's real will. Tell Mom fraud charges don't look good on a hospital record. Then I blocked her number before she could respond. The next morning, I called a meeting with Dad's former employees, the ones Mom had fired after his death. 20 people filled my conference room, each with a story of how my family had wronged them. I've reviewed all your cases, I told them. The wrongful terminations, the withheld pay, the destroyed reputations. I can't undo what they did, but I can offer you something better. I laid out my plan, a new division within my company built on the foundation of Dad's original business, but bigger, better, and they would run it. This isn't charity, I clarified. This is an investment in people my father trusted, people who deserve better than what my family did to them. The room was silent for a moment before Tom, Dad's old operations manager, spoke up. Your father would be proud. He always said you were the one who truly understood business. I swallowed hard against the emotion those words triggered. Thank you, Tom. Now, let's get to work. Later that afternoon, as I was reviewing contracts, Sarah rushed in. Ma'am, you need to see this. She turned on the office TV. There was Mom, giving an interview to a local news station, tears streaming down her perfectly made-up face. My daughter has turned against her family, she sobbed. All because we tried to help her learn responsibility. Now she's destroying everything out of spite. I watched, amused, as she spun her tale of an ungrateful daughter twisted by power. Then the interviewer dropped the bomb. But what about these documents? The screen showed the evidence of their fraud. And this newly discovered will? How do you explain these, Mrs. Harrison? Mom's face froze. The perfect mask cracked. Those are. That's not. And these testimonies from your late husband's employees? The interviewer pressed on. The evidence of systematic fraud and embezzlement? Mom stood up, ripping off her microphone. This interview is over. But the damage was done. Her performance had backfired spectacularly. My phone rang, the district attorney's office. They wanted to discuss pressing charges, not just for the will fraud, but for everything. The business fraud, the embezzlement, all of it. I thought about Dad, about how they destroyed everything he built, how they blamed me for their crimes. Then I thought about their laughter at the reunion, their mockery, their cruelty. Yes, I told the DA. I'll cooperate fully with the investigation. That evening, I visited Dad's grave for the first time in months. The setting sun painted the sky in shades of orange and purple as I placed fresh flowers by his headstone. I found the will, Dad, I said quietly. I know you tried to protect the company, to protect me. I'm fixing it now. All of it. My phone buzzed again. Another message from an unknown number. Mom, using someone else's phone. Please, she begged. They're talking about criminal charges. We can't go to jail. We're still your family. I looked at Dad's grave, then back at the message. No, I typed back. You stopped being family the day you betrayed him. The day you chose greed over truth. The day you threw away your daughter to cover your crimes. Then I did something I should have done years ago. I sent all the evidence to the DA's office. Sometimes justice comes quietly, wrapped in legal documents and bank statements. Sometimes it comes with sirens and handcuffs. For Mom and Amanda, it came the next morning during their regular tennis game at the country club, in front of all their society friends, all the people they tried so hard to impress. I didn't go to watch. I had a company to run, a legacy to rebuild, and a future to create. A future with no room for strugglers, or for those who pretended to be better than them. After all, success isn't just about making money. It's about proving that character matters more than appearances. That truth eventually overcomes lies. And that sometimes the person they call a struggler is actually the strongest one of all. 6 months later, I stood in front of the newly renovated Harrison Innovation Center, Dad's old building, now restored and expanded. The brass plaque bearing his name gleamed in the morning sun. Below it, a smaller inscription read, "Where strugglers become leaders." The lobby was filled with reporters, employees, and familiar faces, Dad's old team, now thriving in their new roles. Tom, now the division director, stood beside me as I prepared to cut the ribbon. Today, I addressed the crowd. We're not just opening a building. We're continuing a legacy of true business ethics, of valuing people over profits, of giving opportunities to those others might call strugglers. As I spoke, I caught sight of a newspaper on a nearby table. The headline read, "Harrison Family Matriarch and Daughter Sentence, Business Fraud Scheme Ends in Justice." Mom and Amanda had each received 5 years. Their appeals had failed, their excuses had run dry, and their social circle had evaporated. But this day wasn't about them. It was about Dad's dream, finally realized. In this building, I continued, we'll run a mentorship program for struggling entrepreneurs. We'll provide resources, guidance, and support. Everything my father believed in. And we'll prove that success isn't about who you know or what you wear. It's about integrity, determination, and heart. The ribbon fell away under the scissors, and applause filled the air. As people filed in for the tour, Sarah appeared at my side. "Ma'am, there's something you should see." She led me to my new office, Dad's old office, restored to its former glory. On the desk sat a small weathered box I'd never seen before. Tom stood nearby, smiling. "We found this in the old building's vault," he explained. "Your father left instructions for it to be opened by you only after you'd found your way." With trembling hands, I opened the box. Inside was a letter and a single key. "My dearest daughter," the letter began, "if you're reading this, you've discovered the truth and found your strength. I always knew you would." The key opens a safety deposit box at First National. Inside is everything you'll need to understand why I believed in you so much. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you everything before they stopped me, but I knew you were smart enough to figure it out. You were never a struggler. You were always a fighter. Tears blurred my vision as I read his final words. Build something beautiful from the ashes they left. Show them what a real business leader looks like. I'm proud of you. Love, Dad. That afternoon, I visited the bank. The safety deposit box contained documents, photos, and a journal. Dad's detailed account of how he'd discovered Mom and Amanda's scheme, how he tried to protect the company's assets, how he'd set up secret accounts for me before they could take everything. He'd known, he planned, he believed in me. Back in my new office, I looked out over the city, the same view Dad had once had, now mine. On my desk, next to his letter, sat a frame containing the viral photo from that family reunion, the one where they'd mocked me and thrown me out. I kept it as a reminder not of their cruelty, but of my strength. My phone buzzed, a message from the prison. Mom, asking again for forgiveness, for a chance to explain. I deleted it without reading further. Some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. Instead, I focused on the applications on my desk, dozens of strugglers looking for their chance, just like I once had. Each one would get what I hadn't, a fair shot, honest guidance, and someone who believed in them. "Sarah," I called out, "send in the first applicant." A young woman entered, wearing a dress much like the one I'd worn to that fateful reunion. She clutched her business plan nervously. "Welcome," I smiled, gesturing to the chair across from me. "Tell me about your dream." As she began to speak, I glanced at Dad's letter one last time. Yes, I had built something from the ashes, not just a business, but a legacy worthy of his faith in me. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just success. It's using that success to help other shrivelers rise. After all, that's what real leaders do. And I was just getting started.